Okay, so this is the very basic to-do list app which I made. So if we enter something, it gets into the list, and if we enter something duplicate, it shows the error, I mean the warning that to do already present. And if we try to enter, I mean try to click the button and enter nothing, so it gives a warning that you cannot, the to do cannot be empty. So you have to put anything, any words to get into the list. And if you try to use spaces and enter the to do, it also shows that to do cannot be empty. And one more thing, yes, we can check and check this, and we can delete this from this icon. And yes, if you refresh the page, it is saving, and we have used the local storage in build API, through which we can save the data in our browser. So yes, we can save it. And if you see the code on the left hand side, I have selected these elements, and then here when we are inputting any value, we are trimming it down for any extra spaces. It just trims it down, and it is the Unicode for this cross button. uh, I have used this empty variable to check, to select the warning message, which we are getting this. So the element ID is stored in this span element. So if we see here, span element empty warning, if the input field is empty, we select this, I mean we append this element. Same for the duplication. If there is any duplication, if the text is already present in the to do, so it shows to do already present, then we append the same span tag, and we just append it to show it. And the next time if you enter something else, it vanishes, because we have selected this, we are displaying it none again. Okay. Yep, we are appending this span to our UL, and we are getting the value and getting it in our list. So we are appending all of it in the UL, and here we are checking if our if the display is already none, then we can change it to show the warning like this, and it enters only if there is any duplicate element. Okay, and this will be checked by a function called duplication, which is over here, and where I pass the input value from the input field which we get from here. And then we select all the list which are available in the UL, and then we check the condition if length is 0, which means we check if it must present some element in the list. So the list should not be empty, we check for that. If the list is empty, we just return false, and then it goes to other conditions. Okay, if the condition is true, then we come here and we select the span element, which is this element, and we store it in span. And then we add that icon, that span icon of deleting, to the input value, so that we can compare it with the input value with the current value we have. See, if we do this, this gives the output, the inner content of the value, the text, and the span element, the icon. So to compare that, we have to add that span element also. So if it is true, then it shows that it is duplicate element, and then we go further and we print that warning. We just display it block, it changes from none to block. And then if it is, if the, like if we are testing for duplication, so we tested it, and if we try to enter an empty to do, so it vanishes and prints the empty value, this one, it prints the empty value. And then after we input the to do, it clears the input field, and then it saves all the data, ul data. And this is the click event listener, where we check the clicked target what it is. If it is a list, then we perform this action, toggling the checked class, which crosses this text, and then we saves the status of this checked or unchecked status. It goes and saves. And else if we check for span also, if we click span, it just deletes its parent element, which is the list, and it also saves that. And yep, and for saving we are using a line, this to store in local storage. We set to do's, this is the key and this is the value, which is the whole UI HTML element. And when we try to get that element, we just call this get item to do's. And yep, we don't have to store this, I was just debugging it. So yep, we can do it, we can get the value, and we can show that in the UL inner HTML. And this function is self invoking, which is immediate invoked function expression, so that I don't have to call it another line, it is calling itself. So yes, this is the project I made, quick to do app. And this is the HTML, basic HTML header containing h2 image, and it also has the favicon input field, submit button, both the warnings. And this is the example list which I made for CSS implementation. And here the CSS body, I'm just getting this linear background color. Yep, this is the CSS. There is a transition transform ease in and out. I was not doing it, but it was not looking so good. The transition is making it smooth, so I decided to keep it. And yep, this is the status when it is unchecked. This is the image which is displaying, and after checking we are adding a class, we are adding somewhere, if we see, we are toggling the class. Yep, here, so we are toggling this, toggling checked class, and which makes it checked or unchecked. And the icon also changes. Here is the icon, and I changed the color. This icon was red color, so I changed it to blue. And yep, this is the CSS. Okay, so the issue which I faced during this project was, first of all, I faced issue on selecting this event of checking unchecking. So before I was doing this event listener inside the function, this function, so that it gets the li, particular li to select, but it was not efficient because we have to add this to remove, so we are not getting that event handler over here. So what I decided to make it global, and we are targeting the tag name, so that whichever element is clicked, it is getting targeted directly, and it is getting checked unchecked, so it is not dependent on the variable li or input li values. It is self dependent, so whichever thing clicked, if it is a li it gets triggered, otherwise it doesn't. And same for the span, if it is clicked it does its function. This was the first issue which I faced, and secondly I faced the duplication validation. Yes, the issue was that I was unable to compare this two where it is this two input values and the text values, because the inner text content the inner text contains the text as well as the span. So I had to debug it, and I saw that the text will never get the same value because of this span. So I fixed it by adding that span, that delete icon, to the input value, so that it can get compared. And yes, so these are the things, these two issues which I faced and I fixed. So this is done, basic to do app. Next we will be looking on to some other project. So I'm just making this project to refresh my JavaScript skills. So yes, I will be making few more projects and then we'll jump to React library. Okay, so thank you so much for watching. See you in the next project.